I give very good advice, but I very seldom follow it. That's a quote from Alice in Wonderland, and it's one that most definitely holds some relevance in my life. Here's the thing, I have a lot of friends who are very helpful in the realm of giving advice. But do I actually follow that advice? Sadly, no. I do try, I really do. But the thing is, I tend to overthink things a lot, and then, everything gets totally messed up, and the next thing you know, I'm going off the rails and doing something completely different than what the person initially told me I should try doing instead. However, when it comes to giving advice, not to brag, but I have been told on many occasions by many different people that they feel comfortable opening up to me because they feel I just always know what to do. There's really nothing magical to it other than the fact that I just consider myself to be a super empathetic person. I really do care about the people in my life, so I want them to be able to know that I care about them, and helping them in whatever life obstacles they're facing is one of them. My 5 best friends back at home? Well, we all went to each other for advice, but if there was anyone that everyone really went to, it was Bryn, Mira, and I. The 3 of us are all pretty different in terms of social ability. I like people, Mira can tolerate them, and Bryn would much rather hole herself up in a room all day to avoid them. But I've noticed between the 3 of us that we really do understand people, and that's really caused us to catch people's attention. We all grab the attention in a room because we have the presence of confidence and kindness. At least, I hope we do. That's also why I realized super quickly that I had to start understanding people. When you have so many people feeling like they can trust you like that, you want to make sure it stays that way. Again, I may have my core girls, but I still like venturing out and seeing what everyone else has to offer in friendship and in society. So yes, if there's one thing that I know about myself, it's that I'm pretty good at giving very good advice. Now, of course, might be a good time to backtrack it to 2 weeks ago. Of the classes that I have to take for my journalism degree, the one that this has the most to do with is my ethics class. It's not a super big class. There's about 30 of us there. In that class, there's a girl, and for safety reasons, let's name her Avery. So, Avery and I never really conversed. Honestly, I've never really conversed much with any of the people in that class. Well, I do, but not on any extreme level. It's college. We've all got our own things going on. Anyway, there was this one time I was walking to class, and I noticed that she looked super upset. I'm talking, she was huddled in the corner of the hall, which was luckily very empty at the time. Her face was all red and puffy, and she was staring at what I'm assuming was her phone on the other side of the hall. Now, how am I supposed to just sit there and leave her feeling like that? That would literally be the worst thing to do. So mean! So, I walked over to her phone, picked it up, and gave it back to her. She was a bit hesitant at first, but she took the phone from me and I sat down next to her. Now, here's something I've learned from talking to people who are upset. I don't like to ask them if they're okay, because that's literally the dumbest thing you could possibly ask someone who has obviously just been bawling their eyes out. So, I sat there silently for a little bit. A way to show that I'm there, and that it's okay to feel this way around me. And then, I went ahead and asked her if she didn't mind telling me what happened. She was silent for a minute. I didn't blame her. Again, I don't really talk to a lot of the people in my classes. It was an easy thing in high school, but you know how some people leave high school and break out of their shell? Well, not to say that I'm going back into a shell, but I've just noticed that I feel a lot better with my core folks than anyone else. But yeah, I didn't really talk to Avery. I let her sit it out for a moment, and then she finally broke down about how her relationship with her boyfriend seemed to be going massively downhill. Again, stay silent, let them talk it out. That's the way I prefer to do it. It's my way of showing my support. I nodded my head as a sign to let her continue. Anyway, she told me this whole thing about how her boyfriend just seemed to stop spending time with her. He would miss her calls or cut them short. He wasn't going out to dinner with her as much as he used to. And, here's the kicker, she caught him talking with her sister and her best friend. Yeah, yikes. Now, here's where I decided to be a good Samaritan and give her some of my old trusty advice, and simply told her that if she really didn't trust him, she should be going with her gut on how she's feeling about him. She could talk with him, that would be a good thing to do, but also letting him know that he's crossing a lot of lines that are going to jeopardize their relationship was a good place to start. You know, after that whole exchange, I was getting to think that I liked Avery, and for the rest of the week, I felt super good knowing that I helped someone out. Then, the next week rolled around, and I noticed she was giving me death glares in class. I was getting a little nervous here. What did she think I did? Did I say something wrong? Do I just rub her the wrong way now? I decided it would be best to ignore it. And then during our next ethics class, we ended up on a new topic. Advice. I don't know how, but it was just peachy and so perfect. And, of course, I watched out of the corner of my eye as Avery's head snapped in my direction. I think our professor noticed it too, because he totally called me out. I stood up once he called my name, and he asked me if I thought I gave good advice. I did what any humble person would do, and just simply told him that I would like to believe that I'm an empathetic person that usually gives the right advice based off of my understanding of people. And that's when I heard Avery's voice. "You're such a liar!" I think my blood froze a little bit. I craned my neck in a slow motion, the killer is right behind you in a horror movie style, and she was standing up fuming. She decided in front of the whole class to recount the events of the week prior when I tried helping her out by giving her my advice on what she would do about her boyfriend. Turns out, the guy was actually proposing, and I did not do a good job reading that. I tried to defend myself by explaining that I guess I didn't really know much about the guy. But then, next thing I know, everyone in the room is buzzing. I'm being asked if I understand relationships, why I'm giving relationship advice if I've only had 2 relationships, and slowly being told that I probably don't have good enough advice. I felt like the walls were caving in a little bit, and not gonna lie, I felt personally attacked. Then, a glorious thing happened. A few magical creatures swooped down to my rescue. A few other people that I had talked to occasionally through my year stepped up and spoke on my behalf. They defended the fact that I made an honest mistake, but that I'm actually a pretty good advice giver. As skeptical as everyone was, they finally sat down, and I managed to apologize to Avery and congratulate her on the proposal. We had a mini resolution in front of the whole class, and it was a bit mentally draining. Yeah, so word of advice. Make sure you fully understand the situation before you try and tell a person how to act on something that's happening in their life. You don't want to end up like me and have a room of 30 people thinking you're actually terrible at giving people advice.